Nerves rattled in my stomach as I killed the engine in the parking lot. I had been looking forward to this all morning. I wrung my hands on the steering wheel as the late summer sun beat through the windshield, my hands slipping a little. Could have been a mixture of the heat and the excitement. It felt like my belly was full of cotton candy. I was only here for one thing. But nothing was stopping me from looking around. I wasn't going to buy anything else, I affirmed silently with a little nod to myself. I just wanted to look. Grinning with glee, I shoved my shoulder into the car door to throw it open. The excitement of the adventure got the better of me, and I threw it open with more vigor than I had anticipated, bumping my leg hard enough to make me wince as I slammed the door behind me. I stood for a moment trying to play it off as my leg throbbed in anger, shoving a hand through my scarlet hair as an embarrassed heat filled my cheeks. Across the parking lot, my gaze connected with a man who smiled at me with a little wave before turning into the same place I was going. I laughed. He definitely saw me. Sighing heavily, I rubbed my leg before walking in, the entrance to my favorite nursery already alive with autumnal plants, layered with bags of dirt and vanilla-colored terracotta pots. I waved at the woman at the gate who smiled her full-strength smile at me as I rushed past with a little excited noise. "Good morning, Abby. I'm only here for one today." I couldn't help but smile as I breathlessly ran to the back of the nursery as her laugh faded into the sound of the wind rushing through the trees. The table where they kept the discounted plants was well stocked this morning. I guess I picked a good day. "Hi, babies," I cooed as I sighed happily, placing my hand on the table as my magic surged under my skin. Any of my earlier nervousness melted away like morning frost, replaced by the grounding comfort I always expected. Swelling and receding like a morning shoreline as I gently swirled the pad of my thumb across the wilted leaf, I listened as my magic explained it was a rose bush. It had been hacked away to barely 2 stems worth, with this last leaf hanging on. I nodded to myself as I continued to understand the information my magic was collecting about the plant. Images of a full and healthy plant washed across my vision, deep pine green foliage with vibrant tangerine-colored roses. My eyes fluttered open as I picked up the pot, shifting the energy in the plant to identify what was wrong with it. "You're beautiful," I whispered. "You're just a big plant in a little pot, huh? Do you want to come home with me?" Opening my eyes, I gasped as a single fresh rosebud had formed at the top of the plant. The perfectly formed rosebud was already awash with beautiful lines of orange. "So pretty." I turned with my attention still on the plant in my arms, bumping into someone who had joined me at the last chance table without me noticing. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You." I gasped as I tilted my head back to gaze into the face of the man who had seen me bump my leg into my car when I arrived.
"And you too."
He laughed as he smiled apologetically, raking his hand nervously through his shaggy brown hair.
"You know, I was here a few days ago, and there were no buds on that plant."
His voice was gentle and playful, his smile feeling like the first ray of morning sunlight as I continued to stare at him. A knowing smirk pulled at the corner of his lips, and anxiety of being found out made me nervous.
"It is a beautiful rose. I don't know if I've seen many in that color. Did you know what color it would be?"
Yeah, yeah, I did know. I always know. I glanced down to see more leaves forming rapidly the longer I held it in my arms. It seems my magic was eager to show off. I nervously avoided his gaze until he dipped his head to catch it.
Sounds like you'd be a really great person to know when it comes to gardening stuff, then.
His tone was playful as he gently bumped my elbow, a smile taking up his whole face, and I couldn't help but return it. It was like his smile was chasing all of the clouds away. I felt rooted in place as I watched him round the table, his fingers tracing the other pots that were ready to be discarded.
I know some magic, but probably not like you do.
His voice was quieter, murmured like a secret only between us. I watched as he picked up a pot that could have been mistaken as dead to anyone else.
Can you tell me what this is?
Eagerly, I rushed over as I set the little rosebud pot down. My cheeks filled with heat as my enthusiasm didn't go unnoticed by his watchful eye, before picking up the pot and submerging myself into the plant through my magic.
I hadn't meant to catch her injuring herself earlier, but I couldn't look away. The way her scarlet hair caught in the sunlight reminded me of the turning of maple leaves, which wasn't too far off seasonally. Threads of gold shimmered in the scarlet in her hair that dropped in front of her face, hiding her shy demeanor as she identified the plant. Druids were rare these days, and even if you knew one, they didn't venture out much into the public setting. I smiled as I watched her fingers tighten around the pot in her hands, her fingers digging into the soil.
Rosemary. That's what this is. She's underwatered and in pretty rough shape. I could help her along if you wanted to take her home.
Her eyes blinked open like she was coming up for air, the magic gleaming in the amber color of her eyes before vanishing. It was stunning to observe this close, and I smiled, already becoming far too fond of her, smiling back at me. I would like that very much.
My magic surged under my fingertips under his confirmation, surprising me a little with its intensity. It wanted to help as much as I did. The roots strengthened in the weak soil, stretching out new, healthy tendrils in search of water. A single new branch poked up through the brown, hacked edge near the base, making him gasp and interrupting my focus. My eyes snapped open as our eyes connected. I'm sorry, I can't help it. It's just that...
It's fine. You don't have to apologize.
He held his hand up to stop me as he reached out to take the plant from me. As soon as it was disconnected, a dizziness washed over me, and I leaned heavily on the table with a sigh.
Hey now. You okay?
I swallowed hard as I tried to right myself with deep breaths, the concern in his voice hardening the edge of it. It sounded practiced. He set the pot down quickly before turning his full attention towards me as the earth tilted in my vision.
May I?
His hand reached out towards me, intending to touch my cheek. I nodded, unsure of why I didn't say no when the back of his hand touched my forehead instead. I sighed in quiet relief as the tilting ceased instantly. His energy felt like a still northern lake, deep and clear. It was as refreshing as the first snow, and I noticed after my dizziness had ebbed, my leg also stopped hurting.
Her skin was warm under my palm as I instantly identified the problem. Righting the dizziness, I made sure to quickly heal the bumped leg in the same breath, before pulling my hand away. I cleared my throat as a certain shyness crept into my chest. Watching her eyes flutter open to meet mine had my cheeks filling with heat.
You're a cleric.
And you are a druid. Don't see many of you these days. I smiled playfully at her and earned a genuine look of thanks back. It was almost like she was relieved, her shoulders relaxing down away from her ears with her smile. Thankfully, we were the only two back here. To anyone who might have been watching, hopefully it just looked like I was making sure she didn't pass out from the heat. At this point, I'm not even sure it would be possible for her to. She ran her hand through her hair, smudging dirt across her forehead in the process as she cleared her throat.
Yeah. Well, I like coming here to rescue some of the plants that end up on this table. I can't bear to see them thrown out. I'm just not very good with self-control, if I'm being honest. The last time I was here, I bought the whole table.
All of those happy plants you saved. Well, I'm hoping they at least gave you a discount because you bought so many.
Yeah, Abby is really great. She just thinks I'm a crazy plant lady, and I guess she's not really that wrong.
Passionate. Not crazy. She laughed, the sweet sound dancing around us as I watched her reach across the table to pick her rosebud pot before picking up mine and handing it to me.
Yeah, well, I'm just not very good with self-control, and I'm already breaking my own rules by taking this one home.
Your rule?
Well, I told myself I wasn't gonna buy any more plants. I came here for a new pot and more dirt, but I guess it can't be helped.
Ah, your rule. Warmth filled my chest as I watched her happily wrap her arms around the pot she was carrying. Why don't you let me buy it for you? I've been searching for a rosemary plant, and you helping this one survive until I can get it home is a blessing. Consider it a thanks.
I turned my face towards his, feeling like a flower finding the sun as the wind picked up around us. My stomach flipped as I nodded, my mouth going dry. I was really starting to enjoy the ease I had around him. I didn't have to hide who I was. It made me want to keep spending time with him. We drifted through the rest of the nursery together, the wind picking up through the space, bringing the first smell of fall. He'd occasionally bump into my shoulder with a small laugh. It felt intimate and sweet, and I couldn't help but turn my face to his again. Walking out was slow as we both seemed apprehensive to leave. I needed to know his name, get his number, something. What's your name? He turned to face me with a surprised look. In all of our talking and interactions, he must have realized that we hadn't even exchanged names.
Where are my manners? My mother would tan my hide for this. My name is Julian. What's your name?
I'm Aspen. It's so nice to meet you. He nodded as his features smoothed out into a smile again.
Like the hardy trees that grow up north. They're beautiful trees, so the name is fitting for you. I hadn't meant to be so direct, but the way her body language opened up onto the compliment made it worth it. Before we knew it, she had followed me to my car.
What are you doing right now?
I laughed as I hit the key fob to unlock the trunk. Aside from making sure to get this home, so your generous and amazing efforts are not in vain, nothing. It was true. This was the only errand on my list today.
Do you want to go grab ice cream? Why was ice cream what I said? Who gets ice cream in the morning? Were there even any ice cream places open this early? I didn't have a chance to panic too long as he nodded with a smile.
Ice cream sounds lovely. I would like that very much.
We stood there staring at each other as the sun shone down upon us. Something else took flight in my stomach. Butterflies? Butterflies were good for a healthy garden, right? Hey there. Thank you so much for listening. A lot of love, time, and effort went into bringing this story to life, so if you like what you heard, definitely consider dropping the video a like and the channel a subscribe. It really helps out so much and only takes a few seconds. And if you'd like, drop a comment. Let me know how much you liked this, and share this with someone who you think might enjoy it too. Above all, thank you so much for your support. From ink to airwaves and from my heart to yours, I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.